Hi and welcome to another episode of Tanarumanga's Team Talk, proudly sponsored by Victual, New Zealand's first health and wellbeing supplement range that combines ancient Māori and Pacifica wisdom and ingredients. And my guest this week is former All White Jeremy Christie, who was brought up in Whangarei and is now living in Orlando, Florida. It's a big distance, but I'm sure it's about the same weather. That's why he went, I'm sure. He played 27 times for New Zealand and was selected in the squad which competed at the 2010 FIFA World Cup. He's played for clubs in Australia, England and the US, and he's the only player to play for the three New Zealand professional football clubs, the Football Kings, New Zealand Knights and the Wellington Phoenix. Jeremy is now CEO and co-founder of FC HIGHLAND, a youth soccer club which runs skills programs for youth to encourage them through soccer to express themselves, play on instincts and not be afraid to make mistakes, as well as improve their technical soccer skills and other things. Welcome, bro, and an honor to have you on the podcast tonight. How's it?
Thank you, Tana. Good, man. Honored to be here. Like I told you through our communications, you're a big hero and idol of mine, growing up. So it's, it's pretty cool to be able to sit here and have a chat with you.
Oh, no, I appreciate it. And, I think you stood out to me when I was looking for someone to talk to. Obviously, I've had a lot of rugby people on, so I was like, I've got to change it up. And then, I'm getting to learn LinkedIn. LinkedIn kind of connects people. It's amazing. But you being in Orlando, and then I looked around and going from Northland and being a soccer player, I was going, oh, geez, that's a good, there's a bit of a journey and a story behind that. So how'd you go from Whangarei to Orlando?
Man, what a long story that is. Growing up in Whangarei, there weren't a lot of footballers. First of all, I don't think anyone had really gone on and played for the All White or anything. So I was a bit of an outcast in that respect. But I was lucky that my age group, we hosted the Under-17 World Cup in 1999.
Yeah.
So I was a part of that team, which kind of got me. I went down to Auckland boarding school. I was at Mags. And then from there, Kevin Fallon was coaching me there. Obviously, one of the greatest coaches New Zealand's had. He kind of had a connection at Barnsley in the UK, and that's like where my professional journey started. And then, like you said, bounced around a few different countries and landed here in Orlando. So that's a very brief description of it.
So how old were you when you went to Barnsley?
I was 16.
Jeez.
16, yeah. It's crazy because it's the other side of the world, but back then as well, 1999, there was no cell phones. I think, I don't think the internet was in Whangarei yet, but we were I've told this to a few people, like my mum would call me, Sunday 7 p.m. I'm going to call you. If I was at home, great. If I wasn't, then catch you next week. So it would go sometimes weeks without talking to your parents, which is crazy to think of now, but for a 16-year-old on the other side of the world. But I had to grow up quick, and I had a few Kiwi buddies there as well. Rory Fallon was there with me, Leo Burdos, David Mulligan, Alan Pearce. So we had a good little Kiwi crew there too, which made it a little bit easier.
So that's a well-traveled journey from Whangarei to Mags, isn't it? We know a lot of rugby brothers that have done that and still proud of their Northland heritage. So how did it start in Northland? Like you said, you're a bit of an outcast. So did you have 11 players 10 other players to play soccer with up in Northland?
I think we scraped a few together, but I played every sport I could. I love basketball. I grew up playing basketball. Did just do like track and field, play some cricket. So all year round I was playing different sports. My granddad on my mother's side was English, so he kind of got me into football, which is why I started. And then I used to play rugby at like lunchtime and that at school, but was never brave enough or tough enough to play it seriously. So football kind of ended up being my route. And then I loved basketball. Like I was pretty good at that too, and I kind of played both of them. And then I had to make a decision at probably 13 or 14 when I went to Mags, and made the right one because I didn't grow like an inch from when that happened. And I actually played basketball with Lindsay Tate. He was played a couple of like touring groups and stuff like that. Yep, and me and him were the two like point guards on the team. And like I said, he kept going. I think he got up to like 6'4" or something, and I stayed at 5'11". So that was the right decision. But it's awesome to look back and see, you know, Lindsay obviously had an amazing career too.
Yeah, no, definitely. And, you know, I think, who was your favourite team when you were growing up? You know, when you were back in Northland, obviously with is it your grandfather that was the English person? They're obviously very parochial to one club. You know, who was your club when you were growing up?
Big Liverpool fan. My mum was born in Liverpool. We had a lot of family still there, and they would send every year, get the kit, like the game jersey kit.
Yeah.
Every year we get it sent over. So I grew up a massive Liverpool fan, and still am to this day.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Also,
was a big Crusaders fan. Like, you know, obviously being a rugby person.
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
Thank you. Hey, it's been great talking to you, mate. But no, I love Crusaders. Love the Crusaders.
Yeah, and you know why? You know why I was a Crusaders fan?
Why is that? Oh, of course. I was gonna. Yes, that's right. Yeah. Great man. Great man, and very proud Northlander. Very proud Northlander. It's funny you say about Liverpool. I was a Liverpool fan when I was younger, much younger, and my brother, you know, he always bought the Shoot magazine, and and you know, we religiously, you know, obviously after church, but watched big league soccer on Sunday afternoons at midday. And I loved Liverpool. I became a big fan, you know, the days of Kenny Dalglish and Ian Rush and that. So I was actually wanting to play soccer when I was younger. But then when I told my dad, you know, and he took me down to the rugby, you know, he said, "Oh yeah, we're going to join you up," and then took me down to the rugby club, and that's how I ended up playing rugby from then on. I think he was a rugby man through and through. And I think he decided, no, I think we'll put you into rugby, and I think that's your game, son. So
yeah, my dad was a big he used to play rugby when he was younger. He's, you know, from East Coast, Māori boy.
Yeah.
And he I think he wanted me to play rugby, but my granddad kind of won that battle. But my dad used to tell me this story, me and my brother, that he was like a first five, and he had All Black trials back when they used to have like trials. Jeez. And all my life, I was like, wow, that's awesome. That's so cool. And then I must have been, I don't know, 17, 18. And my mum told me he's lying. He never had All Black trials. He was terrible at rugby. Oh. But I grew up thinking my dad was like this All Black trialist. What happened? I hurt my hamstring, so I never really.
Yeah. It's funny, like again, my dad kind of similar story. So yeah, I was really good at rugby, and we had these photos of him in club days. But I actually went back to Samoa one day, you know, to play for I think it was New Zealand A, and a guy just came up to me and he goes, "Is your father Falefasa Umanga?" And I go, "Yeah." "Can't be." I says, "Why is that?" "He was rubbish." And so from there, you should have seen his face when I went back and told him. He said, "No, that haters, you know, that
lying,
kind of thing."
lying.
Yeah, lying. But we definitely got our skills from our mother's side. Jeez.
Yeah. My mum was like a good athlete. She played hockey and did like track and field and stuff down in Christchurch. So apparently, so she tells me, who knows? She might be doing the same.
Well, this is right. That's right. It's hard when you don't know whether to believe your parents now. Like,
I know. There's no Google back then. I don't know what's going on.
That's it. So you're at Barnsley now at 16, you know, so what did you do there? Did you just go to school, or, you know, what happened there?
Yeah, so we're in the academy, like at the club where we went to school, I want to say like 2 mornings a week or something, but we were full time with the club, like training every day, and maybe a Wednesday afternoon and another afternoon we'd go and do schooling, but just at the club, in one of the classrooms at the club where the players would go in and do, you know, an hour and a half. Ours was a bit of a joke too. We had a tutor who would give us sports science, and we'd go and play golf and stuff. It was a bit of a joke, but there was full-time football at that age. So I was actually decent in school too. I went all right in school, but like that kind of stopped at 16. So I was very young to stop schooling, and just full-time football. So it was amazing, like for my, you know, development and stuff, to be playing at that level and training with men, essentially pros and stuff every day. But yeah, the schooling kind of went out the window.
Oh, geez. And so how long were you there for?
I was there for like, I want to say maybe 4 years. Like the academy program is 3 or so years. And then the club went into like administration, and Ken Dugdale was coaching the Kings, the Kings. And when my contract was up there, he kind of reached out and said, I played for him with under 20s, and he'd said, come back and play for the Kings. So that kind of brought me back to New Zealand, and the first of my 3 New Zealand franchises. What a great honor that is.
Hey, you're the only one to do it, mate. Pioneer.
Unique, mate. Unique.
So at 16, did you realize like, now this is me now? I'm going to, you've chucked all your eggs in that basket in terms of becoming a pro?
Yeah, and that happened quick. Like growing up in Whangarei, that was never even a thought, And then there were obviously no professional teams in New Zealand, but it was when Rory Fallon, David Mulligan, they went over the year before me to Barnsley. And then it kind of became like a possibility where that's a real opportunity for me. And then I was fortunate enough to go over there. But up until that moment, I'd never thought in my life that, I'll be a professional footballer. Like it's not something we even consider growing up. And I was fortunate enough to play for the under 17s, for the New Zealand team, but still I never thought like that would be my path. So it kind of came out of nowhere. But once I was over there, and in it, like I loved the game, loved playing. And then that's all I wanted to do.
What's your memories of England at that stage? Jeez, it's a long way to go from
Yeah, and I went over there Christmas time too, and like it's the winter in the UK. And I don't know if you know much about Barnsley, but it's not the prettiest place in the world. It's up north. It's like an old coal mining town. So it was an interesting place to come from Whangarei, tropical, and then head over to the cold, grey, miserable, like weather was cold, snowy, all that kind of stuff at Barnsley. So it was a bit of a culture shock, but again, having my Kiwi buddies there made it a little bit easier.
Yeah, look, I only had to travel there, 4 weeks most years when I was playing, and that was enough to tell me that probably this is not the place for me.
What time of year did you guys go? Did you go in the winter?
Yeah, November,
right?
November. Yeah. And when it doesn't get light till 9 and it gets dark at 3, and it was very much says, no, I don't think I can play here. And I didn't really like the cold. I still don't, so I'm further up north now.
Oh yeah. I'm with you. Like you're at least in London in that, right? That's a cool city.
Yeah.
It's exactly. Not like you're in Barnsley, stuck in Barnsley. No, it's rough. I survived though.
Yeah. Oh, you did, and I'm sure there would have been some good learnings from that too. I'm just sorry, we might just stay on just because at 16, like I remember I left home, I signed a contract to go play professional league straight out of school when I was 18. And I had it all teed up. Yeah, this is what's going to happen. And then I realized after 2 weeks when I got there, no, man, I want to go home. I'm homesick. I miss my parents. And so I ended up coming, signed for 2 years, lasted 2 weeks and came home. And I didn't really try hard at school. I was okay student if I applied myself, that typical comment from teachers, oh geez, he could do so much better if he just tried. But so when I came home, I just, oh shucks, what am I going to do now? But did that ever cross your mind, like as a 16-year-old, you haven't really, and you came across, you weren't doing that much at school, or did you just really buy, and this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to be a soccer player and I'm going to chase that as hard as I can?
I think so. I think being at boarding school prepared me as well. I had 2 years at Mags in the hostel, and with Kevin Fallon there, it was like a professional program. So even though the weather and that was a little bit different, the day-to-day and all the hard work wasn't too much different to what I'd already experienced at Mags. So that was great. And honestly, I think my personality, I enjoyed the freedom, probably a little too much, if I'm being honest. Like it's one thing I always talk to kids today. Like I wish that I had someone there that was maybe a few years older than me. And a good example is, Winston Reid when he went to West Ham. Yeah. I know there was a player there who was an older guy who kind of took him under his wing, and and he was super professional and Winston took that on board, and that's why he had this, was having this amazing career. Where I was there with other young guys, and we were egging each other on. Let's have fun. Let's do this, do that, and never really probably reached my potential. I don't think, because of when I was younger, I didn't have the right professionalism. That's something with young players now that I work with. I always try and tell them, try and get whatever your goals are, get yourselves around people who are going to help you and not hinder you. And it's tough to identify that, when you're young and you're living it, but it's one of the things I always look back on, like, man, I had a good time over there. I got some crazy stories, but I wish that I had been maybe a little more like serious and dedicated. But still, that's life, not like a really fun, enjoyable career anyway. But
that's key though, like you say, young people having mentors, someone to guide them, and you'll probably find now, you can still give these young guys advice. Whether they take it on board or not is still up to them, but at least you can also help them come back from it, like if they do make a mistake. So, and it's never that you want to say that I told you so, but all you do is say, hey, look, you've learned from that.
I understand.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what they're looking for, And I think in my career too, I was fortunate to have quite a few older guys that kind of kept me in line, picked me up and brought me back into line when I needed to, which was just as important.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day, about like your career, and you were kind of in that probably that transition period, right, between the old school days and that culture, and then the new stuff that came in. So when you were young, were there really older players who were on it professionally and like that, or was that culture a little different?
I think in terms of, there was definitely, like when I first became an All Black, definitely there was, and a professional rugby player, there were guys who probably were professional but didn't know it because the professionalism was so young, so what we see know as professionalism now, some guys were just doing because, they'd worked most of their life, so they already had processes and structures in place about how they can get the best out of themselves, and know what they had to do. Probably the biggest change, and you're right, I was in that transition from being the young guy, don't say anything, don't turn around and look at the back seat, you just face forward, you speak when you're spoken to, and that's it. To now, especially in terms of what you're doing, young people always have an opinion, they don't like being told to be quiet. And so you've got to be able to, you've got to be able to listen. And I was really at the, that transition period about the culture within the teams and this hierarchical concept compared to this more inclusive, this everything's about being inclusive now,
that intrigues me about because even when I first was in the All Whites, that was mid 2000s, but the leaders then were like old school. They'd tell the young players, you got to do everything. I remember a couple of our players, the old senior players, I had to go and get their kit for them before training and drop it off, and then afterwards come and pick it up and take it to laundry and do all that kind of stuff, where even the young players get all the balls off the bus and set everything up. But then later on, when we started to adopt, I think, a lot of the All Black culture, like when we went to the World Cup in 2010, you had the captain, Ryan, the highest profile player. He's the first one, get off the bus, grab everything, like no questions asked, just go and do it. And I noticed a big culture change between when I started to when I kind of finished. So, on the way bigger scale that you were on, the All Blacks, and how big that culture must have been, I'm sure there was a party culture, like that going on and behind the scenes, and then to how incredibly professional and like the amazing culture you guys had, like towards the end of your career. It must have been cool to like see the change as well.
That had to happen. Like it's a lot different now. There's a lot more expectation, because you're getting paid money now, whereas those before were just, they just did it for love, and they lost money because they had to leave their farms and leave their jobs for a certain amount of time. And so that expectation brought a change in that kind of that thinking in terms of the culture. And even, like you say, the partying culture, like we have in sport, that had to change because the social media's major change, and everything's a business now. you know, and the brand and understanding what, you know, how we can't harm the brand and, you know, you can't harm yourself, you know, all those kind of things, eh?
Yeah.
But it is.
It's cool. It's cool that there were senior players when you were young who were already, you know, acting, and it makes sense when you say like the reason why they'd been in jobs or they learned that structure. So, were there any in particular? I'm sorry if I'm hijacking this.
Yeah, no,
I'm
not
just
at all.
all
you know, oh look, I'm straight away. I think of, you know, the likes of Zinzan Brook and oh geez, Sean Fitzpatrick and, you know, Robert Brook. I just remember when in my first breakfast, I've talked about it before, you know, I tell people the first breakfast when I was first selected, and I, you know, you can't sleep, so I went down to breakfast early, and this group of players were down there, a lot of the Auckland, you know, group, and they had the papers open and they were talking about the share market. And, you know, that was all, oh yeah. And I was just when I walked in there and there was no one that I knew, you know, had played with or, you know, that I could sit with. It was just those guys. So I had to sit at their table and I sat there and they were talking. And then I think it was Zinny, you know, comes out and says, man, I've got an idea. I reckon every player should put $500 into a kitty and we can just put it on the share market. And, you know, and I was, you know, being a young guy and $500. Oh no, I'm not wasting my money on that. But yeah, again, you know, that was the difference in thing. I didn't even know what the share market. I seen those. What the hell's the share market? You know, I'm not giving you $500. And as soon as you know, I was sitting there for a while, and then a couple of guys that I knew came in, and they sat at another table. And as soon as I saw them, I just kind of slinked away and just went and sat with them. Man, you should have heard what they want us to give $500 so they can gamble it away.
Man, how crazy! Yeah, it's good maturity in that of players. That's one thing that's really cool. I think about, you know, when we play in like sports teams, is that you got the 35-year-olds and then you got the 18, 19-year-olds. Like it's really cool to see. That's one of the most, you know, crazy things about it. Because now that I'm in my, you know, I'm 38 now, and I coach high school kids,
still young
as well sometimes. And yeah, I don't know about that, but I feel I'm like, oh yeah, I you know, you're 18. I played with 18-year-olds, so in my mind. But then I'm thinking, but even when I was in my 20s, the players who were in their mid 30s, I was like, this guy's so old. Don't talk to me like, you know, you're the least cool person I know. So it's a hard realization to come to.
Yeah, it is, and you know, I think as you're saying there, they do look at you like, oh yeah, okay, old timer, you know. It's, yeah, we've heard it all before. Watch out, the new it's going to be faster now. You got to be able to keep up, and you know, look, you just talk to them, just look, mate, my body might not move as fast, but my mind, I'll tell you where you're going because I've seen it all before. They don't get it, you know. It's actually good banter when that's how you can connect, They kind of give you the label of the old guy, but then they kind of they understand, geez, how'd you know I was going to do that? And it's experience, look, it's don't worry, young fella.
Yeah, and
it
helps with you guys. It helps with you guys, obviously, with, you know, at that level of the All Blacks. Kids grow up watching and, you know, idolizing the All Blacks. To me, I wasn't a rugby player, and I get up at 3 a.m. every time you guys are playing in South Africa, my dad, and watch the games. And even now I'll do it if games are on TV. Like, not many games on TV here, but I'll buy them. ESPN Plus, I'll buy the game just to be able to watch the All Blacks. You know, that's what New Zealanders are like in it. So
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
massive,
I think, like, it's kind of woven into the fabric of, you know, the country, you know, the stories, and that's changing now. You know, soccer is really growing in our country. It's one of the, you know, biggest sports now. Obviously, with basketball, as you mentioned before, you know, it's really, you know, parents are wanting their kids to play these games because it's a little bit safer.
right.
And the like. So rugby's got a big challenge upon it, you know, to try and keep, you know, kids playing. You know, that's the challenge. You know, so they've just got to make sure that they're doing everything they can, and the governing bodies have to do everything they can to make sure that they can show that our game's safe. And we've talked about it before, but, you know, sports in general and what it can do for you, not just on the field, but, you know, both mentally and physically, you know, and even spiritually, you know, being able to talk to people, you grow so many good networks all over the world, with people that you've come across, and knowing that you can talk to them at any stage is something that because they know what you're like, when you've had tough times in sport, and you know how they are,
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, so you've traveled around a bit, so what's been one of your major learnings about living overseas, because you've been over there for a bit, and what do you miss most about being being away from home?
That's one thing I immediately thought of, as being away from New Zealand for so long. You realize how amazing New Zealand is. And I never really get homesick. I can miss my family and stuff, but don't feel like I'm really missing New Zealand. But then whenever I come home, when I fly in and look out the window and you see the water and that I always feel homesick in that moment. So the main thing I miss is like the food. My mum would send me a care package of chocolates and stuff every Christmas, but just family. And New Zealand's the most relaxing place in the world. America is it's hustle bustle. It's like people work so hard and work themselves to death, and it's just that laid back nature of New Zealanders is something that they don't really have here. It's everyone's grinding. It's capitalism. And everyone's fighting to make a dollar, and stepping over people to do it. And I just picture New Zealand of being out at Matapuri Beach and Whangarei, and just like this real calm, relaxed lifestyle. So that's the one thing that's most different, and the one thing that I always think about one day, when I'm a little bit older and I'm retired, like just a nice slow pace, beautiful, no snakes, all these kind of things that I'm dealing with here, everywhere.
Really? Are they everywhere there?
I mean, you see them. They're not all poisonous.
Yeah,
but, I'll be mowing my lawn and I'll see a snake go flying. Yeah, terrifying.
I'll tell you, that's one thing I just can't. Snakes.
Me too. Yeah.
I actually watched some videos on snakes. I'll try to learn, but they just scare the hell out of me.
Terrifying. Even the ones that are harmless, the black ones here are like harmless, like a black racer. But when you see this thing, oh man, terrifying.
Oh, get out of here. It's funny you say that, because over here at the moment, I think there are people that are starting to understand, what in terms of the US, when you say grinding or stepping on people, because it's a bit of a struggle street here at the moment. And I suppose that's everywhere, like you say, in terms of, what's the world we live in now because of COVID and the like. But it's tough, and obviously what's happening around the world, it's just nuts. What's
wild, man.
Yeah,
wild. And being here, like America is like, it's land of opportunity for sure. You look at just the sheer amount of people and everything. Florida alone is 20 million people, but just the craziness that goes on in the country with the all the political stuff is wild. It's just, man, I've never seen where there's just two sides, and no matter what, you have to agree with your side, and it's bizarre. But like, even with COVID, there was no COVID here. It was like it didn't happen, because you've got these politicians who are like, all right, we're not going to shut things down. The economy is more important than health and stuff. We don't want to make the economy die. So Florida there was a few months where things were closed down, but then it was a free for all again. People were back in school. Okay, you got to wear masks, but you could travel. I went to Dominican Republic for a friend's wedding. We went to Mexico. Like, you can still come and go. Like,
after a couple of months.
Weird that
sheesh, we went years.
Yeah.
Nearly years in lockdown.
I know. So, and because there was like, maybe 6 months, but then bars are open again. You're going in and it's like places are packed. This doesn't seem right. I'm reading things like how bad COVID is, but Florida, and here it's weird because every state is different, does their own thing. And Florida was just known as like, don't worry about it. You'll be fine.
Oh, wow. Geez, you've come out the other side of it. Well, we hope anyway, eh?
Hopefully. Scary, man. Crazy times.
Yeah, definitely. So what's the favorite place that you've been to, in terms of in your travels? What's your favorite?
I lived in, or that I just visited?
I think lived in. Yeah, where you've played.
I had a year or so in Perth, which was a really cool city. Like
Yeah.
the beach was great. Like it was a fun city. But I lived in, played for the Phoenix, lived in Wellington for a couple of years, and really enjoyed Wellington. Like what a cool city, man. The culture and that, it was like, I don't know, I really, really enjoyed Wellington too. So those two probably. I mean, I lived in Tampa here in Florida. And that's a beautiful like city too. It's on the bay, there's the beaches. That's like a really cool place too. But it's probably those three. I mean, if I had to pick one, I'd probably say Perth. Like Perth was just such a cool vibe, and it was back before, when was it, 2006 or 7 or something. So it was not too crazy back then, but it was a lot of fun.
Wellington seems to stick out as the odd one out to me. You've got Perth that's really hot. I can only imagine. I've never been to Tampa or I don't know where it looks hot to me. And then Wellington, where I was brought up there now, and I had to move out because the southerly got to me, after about 34 years. And
yeah. I mean, if there was a downside, it was the southerly for sure. But it also helped. We had a lot of just a really good team there as well, like a really good group of guys. Like I had so many good friends there, and it was really fun, and we loved the every day just go from training and bounce around like 3 or 4 different cafes, have a coffee here. Restaurants were good, so it was it was a cool city.
That's I think that's the positive thing about Wellington. Everything's so close, it's not so spread out, and as you see, they do socializing well. In Wellington, it makes it easy. Do
you remember actually? This is the first time I think I met you. Was you had like a farewell?
Yes,
something like a little
upstairs
party thing.
of Did you come with Hopper?
Ross.
And
Hopper and Ross. Yeah, so Ross and Hopper were good friends, and Ross Aloisi, and I was out with them, and they were like, "We're going to Tana's thing." So I remember going there and drinking kava, my first ever time.
In that little room. I definitely remember. I do remember that because obviously Ross and Hopper had become, because Hopper's who's the only person that's ever touched my dreads.
Really?
My hairdresser, and I knew him and Ross were really tight, and he loved every time I'd go in there, he'd be talking about the Phoenix and Ross, and is that right? Jeez.
Yeah, mate. I was there, mate. I was there briefly. We stopped in. I think I had like a little bit of kava, and then that was me.
That's enough. Never touch kava again. Yeah.
Pretty much. That was that, mate. So that was Wellington. It was, and we had some cool events there. David Beckham came out with the Galaxy. And played a game, and we had like a big party after that, and I used to go to the Sevens. Like it was a fun place, man. It was a lot of fun.
No, they've taken all that away now.
Really? There's no Sevens anymore?
No Sevens there anymore. It's moved. I think what did they do? I think they just stopped serving alcohol, I think was the thing, or something around limiting alcohol, and that blew it, because everyone just went for it was a good time. Sevens kind of was there, but it wasn't the reason, but wasn't what everyone went for.
For sure. Man, that sucks. That was amazing, that the Sevens weekend. Oh, well. Maybe I wouldn't like it now.
Oh, that's right. Hey, one little question. What's a rowdie? I did when I was looking up Tampa Bay Rowdies. What's that?
No idea. No idea. Maybe like a rowdy person, someone who's like
must be
a partier or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh no, that seemed to be the nickname of the Tampa Bay team you're at. I was going, what's a rowdy?
Yeah, it was the Tampa Bay Rowdies, and they're still called that. They've been called that for like 50 years. Makes no sense.
Oh, that's funny. So now you've been playing all over the world. You've come back to New Zealand. You've done your time in Wellington, and what was it like? With the World Cup soccer. That's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, occasion in world sport. Well, what was that like attending it, and obviously being named in it first and foremost?
I mean, it was funny because we'd been to the Confederations Cup the year before. In South Africa, big tournament, and I'd been in the team for a long time, and everything. And then I just had a few run-ins with a couple of people at the tournament at the Confederations Cup. And I actually left the Phoenix that year. And then I wasn't in the team for didn't make the national team for a little bit. I had some, attitude issues or something, which I held my hand up and was like, maybe that might be somewhat true. But then, so when I went to America, I was playing in Tampa and I was clawing my way to get back into that team because we qualified. So then in my mind, I'm like, shit, we haven't been to the World Cup in 30 years. Am I going to miss out because, I was being an idiot in training at a tournament? So I was playing and I was like communicating back with the coaches constantly about, I played, I scored, I did this, these are my fitness test results and everything. And I got the call that I'd made the team. When it was announced, I didn't know that I was in it. It got announced and I got the call that I was in the team. So, and it was like, I think a week before we went, they named the team, or 2 weeks before. So even to be there was just incredible. And then I played a couple of the warm-up games and I came on in the first 2 games in the tournament. But there's no words. Like that tournament. Growing up, I was born in '83. The last time we'd been in was in '82, so I'd never seen New Zealand there. So just to be there and be a part of it and that whole experience, we had such an amazing group of players. Like the camaraderie and the culture was amazing. It was the most fun 6 or 7 weeks. Just with you think you get sick of each other, but that wasn't the case at all. And then the team, we played well, got some good results and stuff. So it was kind of a dream, really. I mean, it's we didn't make it out of the group, but if we had, we would have probably got smashed in the next game. All the teams that qualify out of the group, so to walk away undefeated and 3 good results is, it was pretty incredible, man, and certainly the highlight of my career, by a million miles.
Yeah,
and one of the real highlights of my life, just the nuts, mate.
It's like you say, the making it is one thing, but being there and being amongst some of the greatest names in the sport. Was there anyone that you'd come across when you played there that hey, that's was there some fanboy moments in there that, because you played Italy, didn't we? And it was your second game, and we were able to draw, which is a huge result for New Zealand. That would have been.
We actually had a couple of games. Yeah, I mean, playing they were world champions as well at the time. So those players were all household names. But we actually played a couple of games in 2006. We played against Brazil, and they were the world champions at the time. And that was Ronaldinho and Kaká and Ronaldo, Roberto. This is legendary players, and we got to play against them. It was amazing. And then we played Spain in the Confederations Cup in '09, which was the team that went on to win the World Cup in 2010, and Fernando Torres and Xavi and Iniesta, the best players in the world. So by the time we got to Italy, it was still amazing, but there's a little bit more okay, don't be too overawed, don't be asking for autographs and that yet. But yeah, but Ryan was great when you talk about leadership and stuff. In that tournament, we had we're massive underdogs, so we're going there and we had this guy who was our analyst, and before the games, he would come in and kind of talk to us about the other team. And I think it was the Italy game, and he was talking to us saying, I think Ryan tells a story somewhere, but he was saying, oh my God, this guy's incredible. If this guy gets the ball, he's going to destroy us. This guy's amazing. Just saying all of that. And the boys are kind of sitting there oh, we're going to get smashed. And then Ryan kind of gets up, sends the guy out of the room. He's like, right, thanks, I got this, closes the door and just says, look, bunch of these guys, this one here, he's come and trained with us at Blackburn, and he was terrible. This guy's got a huge reputation. I played against him once, average. This guy, he just went through all the players and kind of said, as long as we do our thing, we got this. And everyone kind of relaxed a little bit, and obviously went up there, got a great result. So it was when you talk about leadership and stuff, and guys like that, first recognizing that I can still look in the player's eyes. Yeah. This is not going to go well, and then having the the aura to be able to stand up, kick him out the room, and then as soon as he talks, everyone just listens and makes everyone feel at ease and stuff. But he told us afterwards, he had no idea who most of them, none of them had come and train with them. Yeah. He's just trying to make us feel better. So yeah, there's incredible leadership that I got to see from those guys. So that's something I try and teach the leaders that we have coming through in the younger ages about, your responsibility to the group and being the father of a family, and making everyone feel at ease. So Ryan was a great example of that, and I think a lot of that comes from, again, the stuff that we did or our coaches did with Graham Henry and that with the All Blacks and that culture and having leadership groups and all those kind of things, which which was huge for us.
Yeah, so in terms of that leadership, what are some of the attributes that you really connect with, and you drive? Obviously, as you said with Ryan Nelson, understanding your group, and stepping in when I need to say, as you said with Sir Graham Henry, like I remember having that discussion with him around, his team talks before our games, was something that he'd done all the time, but I could just see our players would turn off, all we wanted to do was get on the bus and go to the game, and we would have this half an hour talk around, trying to motivate us and say, we're ready, just let us go, and so I had to have that chat to him about, who are those for? Are they for you or are they for us? Because they're not helping us, so they must be helping you, and yeah, it is. You get to a stage, I'm sure you've been there too, where you can read and you're getting, the last thing you want is everyone having little giggles or, what was that about? Geez, what a waste of my time, especially before a game. And so you just want to, you're trying to help out as well. Our boys, they're grown up enough to know what's required at this level. You've had that.
That's amazing. Yeah, I was gonna say that's amazing that if you were like instrumental in changing like the team talk before the game, because that's one of the things that I do, and I think I might have even like got it from the book or from our experiences with it, where it's your work's been done during the week. I knew as a player, like the things you say to me 10 minutes for a game, I'm the last thing I can think about, and especially here, so I do it with my teams. No team talks, like you put the information on the board or whatever, but no, like, especially here when it's all about like, the motivational team talk and the movie moments. That's what it's like here. It's the like taking speeches and stuff from Independence Day and, any given Sunday and stuff like that. So to not do team talks at all is bizarre. But again, I feel like it makes people relaxed. So it's like almost revolutionary here to not do it. So it's pretty cool that, you've been so instrumental in making, that change with that group, which has now led to me taking a group of kids and across the other side of the world, like and kind of taking that on board. That's wild.
You understand why too. You're like, once you think about it, you realize actually, and it's only because it's always been done before. So we just follow in that. But who are we serving really? And who is it serving? And I think in the end, in terms of leadership, in terms of you're serving someone, a group, or the team. So you got to do what's best for them. Oh, that's awesome.
That's wild.
So, we'll go into so now you've started up your FC Highland youth soccer club. What was the thinking about that? Like, we'll go back a bit like myself, I didn't really have an idea what I wanted to do after rugby, and sport, and because I hadn't really done well at school, and you've said at 16 you're straight into sport. So at what stage did you start thinking about, and I still say 38's young to give up, to retire. So, you said in 38, you should still be playing, mate. You should still be playing.
No chance. Tell my knees that.
So at what stage did you start thinking about a life after football?
I never thought I'd want to coach. When I played, I was like, when I'm done, I'm done. But then I actually had like I saw a lot of New Zealand players, national team players, who were older than me, who were kind of hanging on, like playing for another year here and eking out like a year contract here, year contract there. And, there's the problem is when you get to that age, you're getting unless you're obviously playing the top level, you're getting 6-month contracts and 1-year contracts, and there's no security in it. And I don't know, I felt like I don't want to do that. Like if I'm not getting what I want out of it, then I'll be done. And we played, I was 30 when I finished. We played in the qualifiers for the 2014 World Cup, and we played over in Mexico. And I had like a year out with injury, so I was already starting to think like, now I'm old. I've been in the UK looking at clubs, and was really difficult. It was, not a ton of money and short-term contracts and that. So I'd said, okay, we'll go to these qualifiers. If we qualify, I'll keep playing until the World Cup, just so I'm playing. But if we don't, I'll call it a day. And then we play against Mexico, and I got to play at Azteca Stadium, Mexico City. We got smashed, but for me as like a final memory, I played in front of 100,000 people at one of the biggest stadiums in the world. And we came back to Wellington. I didn't play in the game at home, and then we were out, and that was me. I was like at peace, and I already had kind of something lined up here in America where medical sales is like a pretty lucrative kind of gig, and I wasn't in a position where I could not have to work. So I had that lined up, and I went straight into a career in medical sales, which I did for like a few years before actually helping out at a high school, and then realizing, what, I really miss football. Like, I think I can impact some kids and get back involved. So that's when I kind of started coaching and started this club. But I'm glad I didn't keep playing, because it would have been a case of 6 months here, and then okay, now I've got to go across the world, and now 6 months here, and I didn't want to do that. Okay, so I want to start the next phase of my life. So that's what I did. I met my now wife as well at the time, and I didn't want her to have that lifestyle either of got a year here, and I just wanted to kind of set up some roots and stuff. So it was a mature decision, but I'm glad it did. It kind of got me to where I am now. So
a timely one.
Yeah.
So medical, and so your opportunity to go into that field of work, was that through a contact? Because one thing I've learned around here is just the networks in terms of utilizing those that you come across in sport that we might not have first thought about once we get into sport. Like I've talked a lot around sponsors and actually talking to those people around, making connections that could possibly help later in life. Was that something how you got into that field of work?
No, because I think I'd only just moved here. Like, I just decided I was going to be in Florida. So I just put like a resume, which is just, football. 16, didn't finish high school and play football. So it wasn't much of a resume, but medical sales here as well, they look at competitiveness, and they're like ex-athletes and stuff like that. So I just, almost straight away picked up a pretty good position and was able to go and do this, the American sales thing, which is like, it was all right for a little bit, but it's not, I don't think it's us as New Zealanders, because it's a little, I don't know, it's kind of, you got to go out there and just be a little corny and very overly talkative and cheesy and stuff like that, and it started to wear on me, so I had to kind of pack it in. I wasn't very good at it either. I don't think I was too nice. Like I wouldn't be aggressive with people and like start bullying them into ordering things. But it was interesting. It was good to see like a little bit of the corporate world and stuff like that. Like it was an interesting change.
It's funny because the sales part, like when you said it's not us, obviously with in our own business, I have to be kind of the salesperson because my face is behind it. But you're exactly right. Oh, only if you want, well, no, it's up to you. And there's no.
That's me.
I'm terrible. I don't know. He might come back next week. I'm not sure.
They'd say to me like, oh, we actually like this other company's products. I'll be like, oh, well, that's good then. Stay with them.
Oh, yeah, they're good too. They're really good actually.
The worst, man.
Yeah.
The worst. It was a good icebreaker. I had like the accent, so that's like an icebreaker over here.
Yeah.
Oh, where are you from? New Zealand? No, I always wanted to go to New Zealand, so that would get me in the door a lot. But yeah, after a while, man, I was like, it's a little icky doing all that.
Oh, so there's no hope for me, but I'll keep persevering, bro. I'll keep persevering for us. You might be able to give me some tips. So now, so starting up your, the youth soccer club, how did that come about? Because that can't be easy either.
Really difficult. Actually, I was coaching at a high school, and I was running this after-school program for the little kids, and I was just hearing all these horror stories from all the kids about their club experience. So the way it works here is they'll play club through the autumn and the spring, and then the high school is the winter is the high school season. So it's like separate entities. So I was coaching in the high school, and then the club experiences that I was hearing from everyone was just, it's all about just bringing in as much money as they can, and everyone's just a number. Coaching wasn't great. It was just wasn't, kids weren't getting developed and stuff like that. So I kind of just started with a couple of teams just to say, here's some kids I know from parents, and let me work with them a little bit. And then we started in spring of 2020, and then summer was when like COVID came, and it was like the worst time to start anything because everything was like shut down. Youth sports was shut down, so I just started this club, but we kind of got through, and now we're going into our third year, and we're at like 25 teams and like 300 kids and stuff like that. So it's just trying to do things the right way. And I stole the motto from the All Blacks. We're better people make better players. And it's about like developing character and just making it like a fun environment where don't dedicate your life to it at the age of 9 years old, like we're talking about. It's come and have fun and learn character traits. And if you are someone who has the desire and the potential to play higher, then we've got the right people to help you with that as well. So just tried to do things the right way, essentially. And it's been, unsurprisingly, I guess, it's been pretty effective, because a lot of people over here, and maybe we're idealistic because it's very new. Sure, everyone started off trying to do it the right way. But yeah, it's been good. The networking and stuff here is fantastic as well. The high school I coach at is like a top private school here. So there's some really good people around, and there's a great network of kids, and the kids are all great. Soccer's growing in the US, but in particular in Orlando. There's a MLS team now. There's a women's team here. Some of the world's best women players play here or have played here. So the game's really exploding here in Orlando. So it's it's good to be a part of developing young kids. There's so much talent here, like athletic ability and stuff like that. If they can get the right training, there's some really good kids. So it's fun, like working with young guys. And we partnered with Everton in the Premier League, where we get to, I'm a Liverpool fan, so it hurts a little bit, but we get to access to a lot of their curriculum, and they've got a great academy program over there, and they develop kids in a really good way. So we're able to access that to give our kids the kind of highest level of coaching available. So yeah, we're growing pretty quickly, but just trying to do things the right way. And for me, I tried to handle the football side of it, and my business partner handled the business side of it, but I'm learning, he's a president of a couple of other companies. So this is almost a side gig for him, where it's my everything. So I'm trying to get more involved in the business side of it, and even trying to understand that. And here, especially with all the different tax like implications and everything like that, it's a learning experience. And for someone who hasn't been to school for 20 something years, it's tough to try and to learn everything. But I also want to make sure I am learning it, because it is essentially, it's a business, and I'm trying to run it. So it's a challenge, but it's good, man. I enjoy on the field. That stuff's the most fun, being out there with the kids and stuff. But during the day, I'm trying to work on the other side of it, which is a little more challenging for me.
And so you've got your business partner, and did you meet him obviously before you started this off? How did you come across him? Because one thing for me has been actually mentors, people that have done it before. Exactly as you said, the grass is where that's me. I love, but being inside on the computer and trying to understand business is where we've had to learn quick, and in depth.
Yeah, he was actually, I was running a soccer camp over the summer one year at the school, and his son goes to the school. So we just started talking and became friends. And it was, a year later when he was kind of one of the ones who was telling me all the negative things about the club that his son was at. And I was like, you know what, why don't we start our own little club? And then it kind of went from there. And he's a very successful businessman, and, really well connected. So it's been great at the school, actually, to like all the kids play soccer. So all the parents are, I told you, the Orlando Magic head coach, and there's so many influential business people. So I've been able to connect with a lot of them and learn. And, I just tell them about my business, and they just give me, little tips. And the one I keep hearing from all of them is like, anything you're not like 100% comfortable with doing, get other people to do it. So like the people who are experts in those fields, so you're better to do 2 jobs really well than 5 jobs average.
Yeah.
So it's some good like advice to bring people in to do things we can't do. So it's like I said, man, it's learning. You know, it is. We're just out here, right? We're trying to grasp it, and we trying to grow and stuff. And it's a challenge, but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying like learning about business. It's kind of nice to, especially as athletes, to learn about business, and I feel like we're growing a little bit. So
what would you say, as you see, we're athletes as well, what skills would you be, are you bringing across from, the sports world into your business, because I talk a lot about transferable skills.
I think a lot of the stuff that from a team environment, making, and someone who would be awesome for you to try and touch base with as well is Tim Brown, who played football with us and now owns Allbirds. And when I was starting it up, I'd connect with him a lot, and he would give me little nuggets of advice. And he kind of said, trying to relate my business to his, saying his most important people are in retail, are the people who are working in the shops. Most people, the people working in retail, they just treat them, like nothing. The workroom out the back is gross, and they're not being looked after. But he really puts a lot of emphasis on making them feel like valued. So he tried to relate it to me, and he's like, your example of that is your coaches. You need to really make them valued. They're not just numbers, because they're the point of contact for your customers, which is the players. So I really try and use, not be the boss, but be one of the team, and give them a lot of freedom, and again, make them feel valued and treat them really well, and then they pass on good experiences to the kids. So that's one thing that I didn't necessarily do as a player, but I was in teams where again, we talk about leadership, and empowering the people from within, and all of that comes from within the group instead of someone on top telling everyone what to do. So try and kind of empower all the coaches and stuff, which is, and then you weed out the ones who are, they're not for the right reasons.
Yeah. Everyone talks about staff being so important, and as you said, you'll have your good ones, but then there's also the ones that are just there for the draw, just to work and clock in and clock out, which is okay. But if they do it in the positive way, if they're just doing it with that much, being your shop front window, if they're not doing it with the energy that you expect, then you have to have discussions, and
that, I think that's a good challenge for us, right? Like, how do I get them to buy in? Like, how do I get them to feel like they're part of it and want to do it? So I like those kind of challenges too.
Yeah. Oh, look, I'll have to get you to, give Tim a bit of a tip, to give us a call. I'll give him a call at some stage and see how we go. Oh, sure. He's a busy man, though. He's a busy man, mate. We're trying to get to his level. We'll just keep grinding away. We'll just keep grinding away.
Not many people at that level, mate.
Oh,
like, give me a little piece of that.
So what about the future? What does the future hold for yourself and FC Highland?
I don't know. I just want to. I don't know if we get to a point where we try and franchise it or something, because it is a little bit different what we're doing. But at the moment, I just want to really focus on, being who we are, which is, really being character driven. And I think if we can, it's hard not to dream and like look at the big picture, but I just want to keep worrying about what we're doing and growing steadily. But I can see us growing to have a few thousand kids, and potentially taking it to other cities, and franchising. That would be the dream, to get a men's team at some level. Obviously MLS is, you're paying hundreds of millions of dollars to even get in it, but I'd like to have our own facility. We now have like exclusive use of fields from the city, but it'd be good to have our own facility that we own, with good training facilities where you have teams coming out because you have clubs coming here from Europe every summer for preseason, because it's coming to Florida. So to be able to start to connect with them and host them over here. And I don't know, I would love to get involved with New Zealand, like the national team. I'm doing all my coaching licenses, and I know Danny pretty well, and obviously Rory, and I'm just dropping them little hints all the time. Like, come on, man, hey, I'm getting there. Must be some quotas to fill or something. So I'm trying to, I'd like to, I guess my coaching is hard because I do have ambitions of being a coach. because I do really enjoy that. But now with the business as well, it's like, I don't know if you can do both. Maybe my high level coaching ambitions need to take a back seat for the business to run well. So that's something I'm kind of fighting with a little bit inside, you know, like, do I want to give it a go with coaching and try and be a high level coach? But I'm just kind of taking it as it goes a little bit. Like, I didn't think I'd be here, you know, when I started the club 2 years ago. So I would imagine whatever my plan is in my head, in 2 years' time, it'll be completely different. So I try not to plan a whole lot, you know.
It's hard to plan in this at these times, isn't it? You know, you don't know what's going to happen around the corner. So, you know, yeah. Mate, you still look fit too. Yeah. So, you know, I always ask, you know, what's your health and well-being regime? How do you look after yourself first, you know, physically, but also mentally? You know, when you've got, you know, as you've said, you know, you're running the business, you're actually on the park coaching as well, you know, which is I know is tough.
Yeah, I think the certainly mentally being on the field is the I guess the refreshing part for me, because my phone's away. You know, I'm not having to deal with emails and phone calls and stuff. I can just get on the field, and I coach some older kids too, so I get to jump in the training sessions and I still play a little bit. So you know, I think mentally that's what gets me through. It's being able to almost on a daily basis jump in with the kids. And you know, I have coaches at my club who are all former players, so there's still that, you know, the locker room kind of the banter and stuff back and forth, which is the thing I miss most about playing in the changing room. So I still kind of keep it that way. And then physically, in my preseason, my high school team, we do fitness stuff, and I try and jump in. But like I said, the knees start to creak a little bit. But I'll try and jump in sessions and stuff when I can, and manage not to blow up yet. But yeah, 40's around the corner, mate. We'll see how I'm looking in a couple of years.
Yeah, trust me, it's all good until a couple of, then all of a sudden you try and a little bit those competitive juices start flowing, and then he's not too far in front of me. I think I can get him here, and then something's gone.
I know, and I always thought I was always like one of the fittest at my clubs and stuff when I was younger. So in my mind, I'm still thinking, what time are you doing a 400? I should be able to do it in that easy. And like you said, everything, I'm sore for 4 days after that. So got to try and calm down a little bit.
Yeah, and then the young guys the next day, come on, coach, just like yesterday.
I know.
Oh no, hey, just calm down now, okay?
Yeah. I'm 38.
Yeah. Oh, Jeremy, hey, look, it's been a total pleasure talking to you and catching up with you. It's what I expected, man. I really enjoyed, you know, learning a lot more about you and what you're doing over there, which is great. And I'm sure I'll learn a lot from it. So I appreciate your time, brother, especially this late at night.
No, all good, man. Thank you. And like I said, it was an honor for me. One of my, you know, my all-time All Black 15. You're my center in there. So you know, it was an honor for me to be able to chat with you, and especially hear some of the stuff about, you know, I use the legacy and that All Black culture as a big part of my business, but also my coaching life, and to be able to talk to someone who was like instrumental in that culture is pretty cool for me as well. And I'd love to, you know, connect more and see what else we can do.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, brother, you take care, eh?
All right, my man. Thank you, bro.
No worries.